Good morning. Vevati ubushiku insofu ifuile neli ashiri bako diansofu. On a day when the elephant has died, even in the village, the story will all be about that elephant that has died. Father Lupupa made a statement during his homily. I don't know if it was during his homily, and later on, I don't know if it's yesterday, he issued an apology. And I want to give my take. And my take is that Father Lupupa needed not to apologize. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. And I know that Father Lupupa, wherever he is, he knows that he didn't do anything wrong. So all of you who are jubilating Father Lupupa has apologized. He has apologized because of the life of a priest. This is my view. He has apologized because of the life of a priest. The life of a priest, is characterized by 3 vows. A religious priest, especially like Father Lupupa, is characterized by 3 vows. As a priest, you have to follow these 3 vows. You fall on any of these vows, you are not a priest. You are in trouble. You are in trouble. And these vows, that is the vow of chastity, in celibacy. Chastity in celibacy, meaning no upa and not no kulalia kumbali. You have to stay faithful in celibacy. And the other one is the vow of poverty, where you are not supposed to accumulate wealth. You are not supposed to have wealth here and there. You are not supposed to have it. The other one, the last one, is the vow of obedience. And the vow of obedience is such that you have to accept whatever the superior tells you. You may not even accept, you may not be convinced, but if the superior tells you to do something, you need to follow. When I was in the seminary, they used to give us, what used to happen in the past, where they used to say that if the superior tells you that you should be watering stones, and as you be watering these stones, they will grow. You needed not to question your superior to say, but superior, how can these stones grow? Thank you, my daughter. You needed not to question. You needed not to question your superiors to say, but superior, nga amabakuti ya kurashan. You had to follow the instructions of your superior. You just have to continue watering the stones. You know very well that they will never grow. I mean, how can stones grow? But a superior in the past, they would tell you, keep watering these stones. And you have to do, you don't have to question. So these are the vows which on which priesthood is centered. Of course, you can argue it to say no, you go to the Bible and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, this is how a religious priest lives. A religious priest lives by these 3 vows. Nothing. You're not supposed to get involved in those kind of relationship, intimate sexual relationship. The other one is the vow of poverty, where you're not supposed to accumulate wealth. Whatever you have to share among your community and the people. The last one is the vow of obedience, where whatever the superior tells you, you have to accept. And when it comes to the Jesuit fathers, it is even strong because they vow obedience to the Pope, meaning the Pope, to the church, everything. Everything that the Pope says, whatever, you have to accept. And the Pope is in Rome, but the Pope has his representatives. The Pope has his representatives. Here in this country, we have the Nuncio. The Nuncio is a representative of the Pope. We also have other superiors. We have the bishops. They are also representatives of the Pope. Even the local superior in your community, Father Lupupa, wherever he stays, he has a superior who is above him. Who is above him. I don't know which community he belongs to, but you have these superiors and you have to accept them. Even if you don't agree with what they are saying, you have to accept. You have to accept. So, from my point of view, I sympathize with Father Lupupa. I sympathize with Father Lupupa, but I understand where he's coming from, because as a life of a priest, he must follow what the superior advises him. In his apology, he has stated it clearly. After talking Navakalamba, after talking with the superiors, they have allowed me. Follow that. After kulanda Navakalamba, Navansuminisha. He's being diplomatic. He's being a religious. He's being a religious priest. It is as good as Navanjevat, go and apologize. Look at his demeanor. Look at his demeanor. When he's talking, look at his demeanor. Is that the demeanor of Father Lupupa? Is that the demeanor of Father Lupupa? Those of you who know Father Lupupa, is that how Father Lupupa speak? Is that how Father Lupupa speak? The man is following what he vowed. And I commend him for that. I commend him for that. He's living by the vows that he professed. He professed to live the vow of celibate, the vow of poverty, the vow of obedience. And in this case, he's living by that vow. He's living by that vow. What he said is not in any way wrong. But as a priest, he has clearly stated in his statement, even when you are kicked out in the seminary, like me, I was kicked out. You don't say, no, you say, no, they have advised me. We have descended. It is a concession thing. That is the language of the church. That is the language of the church. But bottom line is that, somebody has kicked you out. But you come up with this language, like the language of Father Lupupa in that statement. Navansuminisha. Do you think that Father Lupupa went to ask to say, please, superiors, can I go and apologize? Do you think that's what happened? He went, no, please, can I go and apologize? No, not at all. He didn't do that. There is a superior somewhere who called Father Chilin, who called Father Lupupa and asked him to apologize. And as a priest, he had to obey because he vowed a vow of obedience. You don't argue with your superiors. And me, who was part of this religious life, I fully understand Father Lupupa. And I commend him. And that's why he's a priest up to today. Some of us failed. When the superiors said something, we were always questioning. Go and check in the Catholic Church where I was in the Combonis. I was kicked out of the seminary because I used to question. I didn't do anything, whatever. Whatever. My issue was accepting what doesn't make sense. That is why I was kicked out. I was kicked out because I used to question. My story is very clear. What I don't agree with, I don't agree with. And that's why I was kicked out. And that's why I'm not a priest. But Father Lupupa, he has got that grace. We are different. Others can accept this kind of thing. But those who can't accept, I mean, you can't be a priest. There is no way you're going to be a priest arguing with your superiors. You can't. The moment you argue with your superiors, you cease to be a religious priest. You can't be. You are gone. It is a strong vow. You don't question what your superiors tell you. And Father Lupupa, according to me, I've understood him very well and I commend him. N'abansuminisha after okulanda n'abakalamba n'abansuminisha atinji sendombo bwelelo. He's basically saying, I have been forced to come and apologize. Somebody has forced him to apologize because what he said is not wrong. And yes, is not wrong because what Father Lupupa said is very true. What Father Lupupa is very true. Father Lupupa is speaking, is talking about forgiveness. He's talking about against violence. If we are going to have a leader that is always pointing fingers, you know, threatening people. Me, if I become president, I mean, honestly, which Zambian, which human being would accept such a leader? Which Zambian, which person would accept such a leader? Which one would accept such a leader? Who would accept a person that is always threatening people? A person that is leading a group that is so insolent, that is so abusive. If there is any political party in this country, for example, and by the way, he didn't even mention UPND, because it's UPND that are up in arms. He didn't mention. He was preaching generally. But for me, I am saying the guilty, atakano kamilandu, kala italabwila. Akano kamilandu, kala yamba kenefi. Father Lupupa preached, by UPND namu imamulinu, at it's you. Because you know that your president, Hakainde Hichilema, is always threatening people. He's always threatening people. Whoever does not agree with Hakainde Hichilema is an enemy of Hakainde Hichilema. What kind of a leader is this one? What kind of a person is Hakainde Hichilema? Hakainde Hichilema, if you don't agree with Hakainde Hichilema, you are an enemy to him. And you become a target of abuse. You become a target of abuse. They will abuse you. They will abuse your children. They will abuse your parents. They will abuse your wife. They will abuse you in every way. In every way. What kind of a political party is this one? Led by Hakainde Hichilema, who himself is every day warning people, threatening people. Father Lupupa is very right. And this is true. And if you want, those of you who may not know UPND, just read the comments. Just read the comments or as I'm talking. You will see they insult. They beat. These people, the UPND is not even supposed to be a party as far as I'm concerned. Just that Russell Waba Lungu, Naba PF, by UPND, they are not even supposed to be a party. This party should have been closed a long time. Because this party is violent. So this party should not even be existing. Hakainde Hichilema should not even be aspiring for leadership. He's a bitter guy. He's a very, very bitter guy. So Father Lupupa is saying the truth. Father Lupupa is saying the truth. He is very right. Then Father Lupupa, you are accusing him that Father Lupupa is at somebody even went to report to the police. And Father Lupupa said that we should rig. No. Father Lupupa is, you should put whatever he said in context. Context is very important. Context is very important. Can you contextualize what Father Lupupa said when he mentioned rigging? Can you put it in context? And the context is that because of this kind of a person who is so violent, who is so violent, so vindictive, so bitter. We would rather not have him. We would rather not have him. And if it has to take doing something that is even not right, that is not even constitutional, we would rather do that than to have people perish. That's what Father Lupupa is saying. We would rather even do something that is not constitutional to save the lives of people. That's what Father Lupupa is saying. The emphasis is not on rigging. The emphasis is this guy that is so bad, that will being peaceful, being forgiving. That is the point of Father Lupupa, not rigging. That is not the point. Rigging is not the point. Like, can you come to me on my phone in the because rigging is not the subject of Father Lupupa. Rigging is not the subject of Father Lupupa. Rigging is to emphasize the point. Is to emphasize the point. That's what rigging, that's the context in which rigging is being mentioned. It's where you are trying to tell somebody to say, you know, the way you are, I would rather even have something else than you. That's basically what you are talking about. Yeah? It's like when you are upset with somebody, you're saying, look, Ishimi vele wa vela mo, the way you are, I would rather, you know, I would rather sell myself. For example, I mean, this is very common. I cannot associate with this person, or I cannot enter into business with this person. I would rather sell my soul to the devil than work with this person. Does it mean that I am meaning that I want to sell my soul to the devil? This is very common. We do say this. In that person, I cannot deal with that person. I would rather sell my soul to the devil than deal with that person. If, for example, I say, I cannot work with him. If I say, I cannot work with him, I would rather sell my soul to the devil than work with Mr. Hakainde Ichirema. Does it mean that I'm saying I'm going to sell my soul to the devil? I am simply emphasizing the point that I can't work with Mr. Hakainde Ichirema. And that is the context in which Father Lupupa is mentioning rigging. Is not mentioning rigging to ask anyone to go and rig. Not at all. Father Lupupa didn't say we should rig the elections. No. No. We would rather rig. Kanshi ngakuchita rig. Chama ponga kuchita rig. Tuachita rig. I would rather sell my soul to the devil than work with Mr. Hakainde Ichirema. The emphasis is that I cannot work with Mr. Hakainde Ichirema. I am not saying I will work, I want to sell my soul to the devil. So all this hula baloo that is there on Lupupa to say he's inciting rigging, no, we should report him to the police, and whoever the superior called Father Lupupa to force him to apologize, he is the one that is wrong. Father Lupupa is not wrong. It is that superior. Baby, close the door for me. It is that superior. Uyo ina superior atumine Father Lupupa. I don't know who it is. Because, I respect my church, but sometimes we need to say things as they are. Whoever the superior forced Father Lupupa to apologize is the one that is wrong. Father Lupupa has apologized because he's a priest and he must live by the vows that he professed. He must obey what the superiors are saying. But that superior is the one that is wrong. Because Father Lupupa didn't encourage the people of Zambia to rig. No, he didn't. And Father Lupupa knows this. He knows that he didn't tell people to rig. He knows this. But he cannot argue with whoever the superior. He can't argue. And unfortunately, this brings me to discuss, our church. Our church, the Catholic Church today, is so divided. It's so divided. There is so much polarization in the church. In the church. So even those who are condemning others, they should check themselves before they condemn other priests or other bishops. We have had statements coming from the church, from the senior-most people in the church, making statements in favor of the opposition or in favor of the ruling party. Why are you crucifying Father Lupupa over this? When he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. His emphasis is forgiveness. When you are preaching, when you are a politician, in your mouth, when you open your mouth, you should talk about peace. You should not talk about violence. You should talk about forgiveness. What is wrong in that is there? What is wrong is in that. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. Rigging, you are putting it out of context. Out of context, but you're putting it out of context because of your political confusion, political interest. That's why you are deliberately misquoting Father Lupupa. You are deliberately misquoting him so that you can find something against him. Just like Jesus Christ, many times he was tested, he was asked questions so that they can misquote him. Even when they were crucifying before Pilate, when he asked them, what has he done? They said he was saying that he is the king of the Jews. They accused him that he said he's the king of the Jews. Jesus didn't say he's the king of the Jews. He said, my kingship is not of this world. My kingship is not of this world. But those who wanted to crucify him, they used that to make a case against Pilate. And this is what you have done to Father Lupupa. You have deliberately misquoted him and crucified him and put him before, cameras to apologize. He hasn't done anything wrong. He hasn't done anything wrong. He is preaching peace. He is preaching forgiveness. He is talking against violence. Those leaders that are always threatening others. That is what he's talking about. And to emphasize that, that's when he mentions rigging. He does not mention rigging in encouraging people. No. No. I would rather sell my soul to the devil than work with Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. I am not saying I'm selling my soul to the devil. I am saying, I am emphasizing the point that I cannot work with Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. Father Lupupa has been deliberately misquoted and placed in a corner to apologize. But I commend him because he has lived by the vows that he saw. He has apologized because some superiors have told him to do so. But it's that superior who is wrong, not Father Lupupa. Our church is very divided today politically. We have different priests, we have different bishops who are making statements in favor of the other. Look at the dialogue that we conducted when we wanted to do the dialogue. The church, Father Cleophas Lungu, you know very well what you were doing during the time of dialogue. When that dialogue that failed, it failed because the church was siding with Hakainde Hichilema. The church, non-priests, non-bishops and archbishops clearly speaks out in favor of Hakainde Hichilema. I love Archbishop Teres Fompundwe, Emeritus. I love him. I really love him and I have so much respect. But how many statements has His Grace made against Hakainde Hichilema? He recently called him a crook. They want to, disqualify Hakainde Hichilema so that a crook can go through. He was clearly mentioning, meaning Edgar Lungu, who stood up and said, no, whatever. Even me, I was quiet. I couldn't say anything because really, it's not, in as much as, I failed to become a priest, but I still reserve a little bit of respect for the superiors in my church because we are one church. And, I cannot be standing up and be criticizing the church every day. So I hold back. But surely, that statement coming from an archbishop, it's not good. Yes, it was his opinion. You came up and defended him. There were people who were defending him. It's his opinion. What about Father Lupupa? Why can't that be his opinion? Why can't that be his opinion? Even if he meant what you are trying to crucify him for, because he didn't mean he wants to read. That's what he didn't say that. That is out of context. But why don't you want to respect him? Why? The Catholic Church, I must say this, I want to make this statement, and I will say it boldly. Our Catholic Church at this point in time is actually an embarrassment in advancing democracy and peace in this country, because they have taken aside those who are in the leadership there. Those who are in the leadership, they have taken a position. Those who are in the leadership, the Catholic Church, those who are in the leadership in Zambia, they have taken a position to side with Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. We see it in their statements. We see it when they talk. I don't want to touch Ambuye. What's the name again? From the president of Episcopal Conference. But surely me, I'm telling you that, some of the statements that you make, it's not that, yes, I do support Edgar Lungu, but not when he's wrong. But some of the statements that you make, you are very quick to make statements, to condemn the government and support the other guy. That's not fair. That is not fair. It is not fair. It is not fair. We fail to talk. We don't talk because, we are part of the church. But I'm telling you, the statements that you make, the association that you show to Hakainde Hichilema is not very good. I don't know what Edgar Lungu has done to some of these clergymen. I don't know what he has done. I don't know. I don't understand. I just don't understand. If he has done something wrong, let's condemn him. That's for sure. If he has done something, let's condemn him. Let's tell him that, no, this is wrong. But to just see, clearly showing that you are on this side, no, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's not good. It's not good. The people that are in the leadership, I'm not saying all priests, no. I'm not saying all priests. There are priests that are objective, that are genuine. But unfortunately, because those who are on top there, they are siding the other side. They are the ones who are gagging people like Father Lupupa, forcing Father Lupupa to issue an apology because you have taken a side, because he has spoken the truth about Hakainde Hichilema. You may support Hakainde Hichilema, but Hakainde Hichilema, he is very vindictive. Hakainde Hichilema, he is very bitter. You hear what he says about others. You see what his supporters do in public. In public. You don't. There was a statement when Hakainde Hichilema was called before the police. What statement did you issue? Bishop Lungu, what statement did you issue? I read that statement 3 times. That statement did not allude to anything of justice. But Ambuye, if you must know, Hakainde Hichilema was called to police because there is a family whose property has been grabbed. Hakainde Hichilema was called to police because there is a family whose property has been grabbed. Their farm has been taken. And Hakainde Hichilema was called for that. He was called for that. But we chose to speak about the rights of Hakainde Hichilema, the rights of association, and so on and so forth, without talking about this family that is being deprived of their farm. I mean, we need to be fair. We need to be fair, and we need to advocate for the poor. We need to advocate for the poor. I speak strongly with on some of these issues. My fight always is for the poor. It's for the poor. It's not just to fight Hakainde Hichilema. It's fighting for justice. But when it suits you, you put aside that fight, that social justice. You put it aside and bring in something of, rights, of good governance. No, it's not good. Hakainde Hichilema was very wrong to abuse people, to come with them to police. And that should have come out very categorical, to condemn leaders that gather people when they are called to answer for whatever charges in their personal capacity before the authority. And priests and bishops must ensure that the state is also protected. They must support the investigative wings and encourage these politicians to go before justice, to stand before justice, and not to be shielded by a group of people in 30 buses. And at the end of the day, we lose lives. We lost lives, I still maintain. We lost lives because of Hakainde Hichilema. If Hakainde Hichilema had gone to police alone, we wouldn't have lost those two people. We wouldn't have lost those two people. It wouldn't have happened. It happened because Hakainde Hichilema did not respect the law. And yet the church wants to forgive it, wants to play a blind eye to that. And you want to crucify Father Lupupa for speaking the truth, for advocating for peace, for advocating for forgiveness. You are crucifying Father Lupupa. It's not fair. I don't agree. I don't agree. And for once I say, thank God I'm not a priest. For once in my life I've said, thank God I'm not a priest. Because if you're going to treat a priest who has spoken the truth, a truth that you know, and you're going to muzzle him, you're going to crucify him, push him to apologize. No. I'm speaking this from my experience, from what I understand. This is what happens. And I know Father Lupupa knows, because Father Lupupa, he didn't suggest in any way that we should rig. So there is no way Father Lupupa would come out and apologize. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That man is not so down in his head that he would be apologizing for saying the truth. No. It is because you have forced him. But you are the ones, you are the high priests that are aligning with somebody that is bitter. Somebody that is bitter. Yeah? I'm sure Archbishop Teres Mpundu would be very happy if Hakainde Hichilema went into State House. But what does his grace think about my family? Because for me, when I think of Hakainde Hichilema as president, I don't think I will survive. I don't think I will survive. I've been beaten. I've been beaten twice by the UPND. Twice I've been beaten by the UPND. Where were those superiors who were gagging Father Lupupa? Where were they? Why didn't they condemn that? Why don't they come out and condemn that clear? I'm sorry, I have to say this. The Catholic Church, together na evangelical, whatever, you have clearly shown that you are siding with Hakainde Hichilema. And it is not bad to side with Hakainde Hichilema if he's a good leader. As long as he can pledge what Father Lupupa said. If he can pledge that, yes, I will become a president for all of you, and I will not victimize you because you didn't agree with me, because you didn't support me, we are okay with it. We are not saying it is wrong to align yourselves with Hakainde Hichilema. No, it's okay. Go and attend his parties. Be with him, consult with him, it's okay. But as you are doing that, tell him what Father Lupupa said. Tell him what Father Lupupa said. Tell him not to threaten people. Tell him not to be vindictive. Tell him not to be bitter. Tell him that. We'll be okay with it. We'll be okay with it. It's fine. It's fine. That is why Hakainde Hichilema today is writing a letter saying, I want dialogue, but this dialogue should be headed by the church. Because he already knows that these are his allies. These are his allies. He knows that these are his allies. I am waiting to hear the response from the church. I'm waiting to hear the response from the church. Hakainde Hichilema wrote you a letter asking you that we should dialogue. Actually, he didn't say we. He's just saying himself and the PF, which actually shows that this man is not a leader. Because for him, dialogue, it just have to be UPND and PF. Hello? If Hakainde Hichilema respects the constitution, he has to respect myself as well as the president of Economic and Equity Party, EEP, because we are also fully registered, recognized by the constitution. And so if there have to be dialogue among political parties, Economic and Equity Party must be copied into, must be part of that dialogue. We are also a political party. We may be small, but we are also a political party recognized by the constitution. And Hakainde Hichilema, if he's a good leader, he should recognize all political parties. He should recognize even Peter Chanda's party. Even if Peter Chanda does not support him, he supports President Edgar Lungu, he should recognize him. Musoni, he should recognize him because ZP is also a political party. He must respect him. But Hakainde Hichilema, for some of us, he just sees us like small ants. He doesn't care about us. What kind of a leader is that? What kind of a leader is that? And this is what Father Lupupa is talking about. This is what Father Lupupa is talking about. And he's very right for that matter. Why should he be apologizing? Why should you force him to apologize? Why should you do that? So we are waiting for you, the church. I want to see a letter that will tell Hakainde Hichilema to say, if you want to dialogue, recognize everybody. Recognize everybody. And this emphasis, no, the church has to be the one to lead. The church must come up and guide Hakainde Hichilema to say, no, if you want to dialogue, you are not the one to choose who should lead that dialogue. It should be consensual. It should be all the parties involved coming to agree to say, we want this body or these individuals to lead the negotiations. You don't come up with a proposal for negotiations, yet you have a rigid condition. What negotiation is that? You have already taken a position. You have already taken, there is no negotiation when you already have a position, a fixed position, a rigid position. There is no negotiation. There is no negotiation. But Hakainde Hichilema can write like that because the church gives him that impression that Hakainde Hichilema, we recognize you, we accept your reasoning. Otherwise, if the church showed Hakainde Hichilema that no, you have to be flexible, you have to be open, you have to be ready to compromise. A church would not have that arrogance. HH's arrogance, in as far as dialogue is concerned, he thinks that it is because the church is on his side. Otherwise, he wouldn't have that arrogance. But now, look, it's too late now. It's too late. Yes, the church is powerful in this country, but Zambians are also very reasonable people. They are able to see. They are able to make their own discernment. And this discernment will be done in August 12, on 12 August, when they will be voting. It doesn't matter what Archbishop Mpundu Emeritus said. It doesn't matter what Archbishop Lungu said. It doesn't matter what Cleophas Lungu said. It doesn't matter. They will be making their own decisions according to what they have seen. How has the PF performed? What is Hakainde Hichilema saying? Dialogue, as you know, with conditions as proposed by Hakainde Hichilema, is not going to work. It's not going to work. It's too late for dialogue. It's too late for dialogue. And there is no dialogue when you are already putting fixed conditions. You are not ready to dialogue. That is not a person that is ready to dialogue. That is not a person that is ready to dialogue. HH is not ready to dialogue because he has always been fixed. And this fixation that he has is as a result of the church giving him that push. And let's face it, we can be saying the church, the church, the church. The church is made up of individuals. It's made up of individuals. It's being led by individuals, and some of these individuals, really, they have got their own personal interests. You can be a priest, you can be an archbishop, you can be a bishop, but we know that you are a human being, you have got your also personal interests. And some of you, you are taking your personal interests too far. You are making the personal interest too far. And we can see, some of us, we can see. We don't talk many times, we don't talk because we don't want to be discussing the church every day. We don't want to be discussing the church every day. We don't want to be calling you by names. We don't want to engage you like politicians. But I can tell you, like for me, I do a lot of restraint. A lot of restraint to not to talk about, you know, the church leaders, particularly the Catholic Church. I do restrain myself very much. But Chilankalipa, some of the statements that you make, that I feel like responding, but I just said, no, I'm part of the church. So all I'm saying is that, please, the same way that you are admonishing Father Lupupa, can you also do the same? Can you also do the same? Can you be objective? Because as far as I'm concerned, Father Lupupa is more objective than most of you. Is more objective than most of you archbishops and bishops and priests. Is more objective. Is more objective. It is not fair. You don't, I mean, you have seen this so-called, I don't know, this evangelical churches of whatever, Zambia, whatever. You have seen that Sia one. That Sia one. He's in South Africa. He says whatever nonsense, blah, 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 blah. You don't say anything. You go and stand up on Father Lupupa. Come on. Let's be real. We cannot, yes, we are human beings and sometimes we make mistakes. But hypocrisy must also have a limit. Hypocrisy must also have a limit. Hypocrisy must also have a limit. You can't continue being so hypocritical. And so deliberately, you know, favoring one side, favoring one person. In the name of the church, in the name of whatever. But when somebody does, you all rise up to crucify him. No, it's not fair. It's not fair. Who among you church leaders, who among you bishops, who among you priests don't know the vindictiveness of Hakainde Hichilema? Who has not heard Hakainde Hichilema, you know, warning people, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this? Who has not heard him? Why do you want to pretend that what Father Lupupa said is not true? Why do you want to pretend The rigging, you are just using it to crucify him because the context is not what you are interpreting. And you know, but you are being deliberate. You are being deliberate. You want to crucify him. That's why you are emphasizing rigging. Rigging, it was an emphasis, and you know it very well. The logic that I have is you people who taught me. So if I can follow logic properly and understand things contextually, what about you? You know better, you know much better than me, but you are being deliberate. You are being deliberate to fix this guy because he has touched somebody that you have anointed. I don't know why you have anointed Hakainde Hichilema. I don't know. I don't know if it is the support because the church needs support from the imperialists. Because let's face it, our church at the moment, I mean the African church, particularly the Zambian church, is surviving mostly because of the donations coming from the West. And the Westerners have chosen Hakainde Hichilema. Maybe it is about money. Maybe it is about money. Maybe you are receiving funding. Maybe you are receiving funding from those supporters of Hakainde Hichilema. And that's why you have gone to... Because I don't understand. I don't understand why you are so much close to Hakainde Hichilema. Is it funding? Is it funding? Is it that some of the sponsors of Hakainde Hichilema are sponsoring the church, making you biased, making you force people who are trying to preach the gospel? Because what Lupupa was speaking is the gospel. It's the gospel. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Is it the money that is causing you to be so whatever? But tulamimona, when you issue those statements, what is this? What is this? I freely mention Father Cleophas Rungu because he's my brother. Cleophas Rungu is my brother, so I can talk about him. I can talk about him. But clearly, Father Cleophas, let's just be honest. Some of those statements you issue, the issue of dialogue, honestly, guys, so anyway, let me conclude by saying that I do understand Father Lupupa, and I commend him for upholding the vows that he professed. The vow of chastity, the vow of poverty, the vow... No, excuse me, let me finish. No. Let me finish properly. Just, please, let me finish. The vow, I commend him for upholding the vow of obedience, the vow of chastity, the vow of poverty. I commend him. He has lived up to his profession. I commend him. I really, really commend him. I commend him. He has been humble. That is how a priest should be. That is how a priest should be. Sometimes some of these things, you leave them up to God. You leave them up to God. And this is what Father Lupupa has done. This is what Father Lupupa has done. Father Lupupa has really shown that he is a priest with, his sort. He has done something that myself have failed to do, or I failed to do. And clearly he has shown how a priest should be, and how some of us, the cantankerous, are. It has made that demarcation. So Father Lupupa, I hold you in highest esteem. Over what Father Lupupa said, I say Father Lupupa never said anything wrong. Father Lupupa was being factual, just like Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was not speaking things from abstract. He was pointing out what was happening and telling people exactly as it used to happen. And that's what Father Lupupa did. Some of you know on the pulpit, what should you talk about on the pulpit? I don't understand you. I don't understand some of you. You say the pulpit, he abused the pulpit. What should you talk about the pulpit if not what is happening in the community? If not what is happening in the leadership? That's what you should bring to the pulpit. and interpret it in the gospel. And that's what Father Lupupa did. He said some of the priests, some of the political leaders, this is what they do. This is what they say. They are vindictive. They are vengeful. This is what he was saying. And he's saying this is not right. And he brought in the gospel. The gospel says forgive. And he tells these people, he exhorts these people to forgive. That's what he did. To emphasize the point, he brings in the issue of rigging to say, we would rather rig than to have some of you. He was emphasizing the point. He was emphasizing the point. And you church leaders know very well that he didn't mean that he didn't encourage rigging. He didn't. So he didn't do anything wrong. And to my church leaders, I am saying, be objective. We are not naive. We see through what you say. We see through your statements. And from my opinion, I can see that the church has gravitated so much to Hakainde Hichilema, favoring Hakainde Hichilema. And this is not good. This is not good at all. To Hakainde Hichilema, what Father Lupupa said is true. And you need to heed to what he said. I mean, even if I talk about you so negatively, I would want you to speak something different. To say, I understand you, or I forgive you, or something like that, to preach peace to me. Not the behavior that you put up when we met at Mulungushi. It was all aggression I could see in your eyes. Eh? I mean, you can't be a leader like that. You can't be. You can't be. You can't, and Father Lupupa is very right. Hakainde Hichilema, you can never be president with that kind of attitude that you have. Of always intimidating people, threatening people. You can't be. Father Lupupa said you should condemn violence. When Sia1 is talking nonsense in support of you, you should be able to say, no, this is not right. You should be able to disown him. You should be able to disown all those who abuse people physically and verbally. You should be able to disown them. President Edgar Lungu has been doing this. Of course, I would wish he would be more firm. But I mean, the man emphasized on the law. I think he's okay. He condemns it. Those cadres, PF cadres who engage in violence, he allows the due process of the law to take its course. This time around, he received a report of police officers that shot those two people. Instead of sitting on it, President Edgar Lungu said, no, release it. This is, I don't know which country, where a president has released information like that one. Most of the time, this information is settled. But this time around, Edgar Lungu received that report that no, it's a particular police officer who shot. He released the information. He released the information. I think this is somebody who has got goodwill. He has goodwill. He has good intentions for this country. Why do you want to stand against him? Why? Why? And this is why I'm thinking that maybe Hakainde Hichilema, because he's being supported by the Westerners, maybe the Westerners are also financing the church and it is making you compromised. It is not right. Let's see, let's rely on providence. God will look after us. Those imperialists of Hakainde Hichilema will not sustain us. God will sustain us. So let us not, twist things in favor of Hakainde Hichilema because the imperialists are helping us. It shouldn't be like that. That is my view on this issue. At the end of the day, I'm saying, Father Lupupa, you are my hero. You are my hero for living up to your priesthood, following your vows. Thank you very much and good day.